Welcome, everyone, to tonight's session on the Facebook group with Sunny and myself, Dr. Nahas. We are live tonight with the topic of the plus minus approach, which is Dr. Greenblatt's foundational approach to treating ADHD, and based on his book, Finally Focused. It's a book that you can find easily on Amazon. And I recommend this book really as a wonderful access to parents to have like a working manual if you're seeing me or another provider. It's a very easy book to read and understand all the steps, what to look for, and what to discuss with your doctor. So with that said, let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, Sunny, do you see that?
I do now, yes.
You do. Okay, wonderful. So Sunny's going to pretend she's one of you parents. So yeah, let's dive right in. So the plus minus approach is something that Dr. Greenblatt discovered in his career as a 40-year or more psychiatrist in Massachusetts. And he's written a book about it to help teach other doctors like myself who treat a lot of children with ADHD. And it's a very, very neat and tidy way of thinking. It really helps us compartmentalize our thought process and to work methodically at deciphering, what is the underlying root cause that could be going on with these children. So on the plus side, we want to look for things to be added. For example, are there nutrients missing? Could there be certain vitamins or minerals that are missing? Very commonly with children with ADHD, we see that their vitamin B12 or their folate is low. They may have an MTHFR enzyme SNP that needs to be treated as well. On the mineral side, zinc and copper are often unbalanced, and we need to check for that either through blood work or through hair mineral testing. But we need to check to make sure, are these minerals and nutrients in the vitamin category in balance, in order, or are there imbalances that require supplementation? Children who have other cofactor or comorbidities, I should say, such as mood disorders or conduct disorders, often have other vitamins and minerals that are not in good shape, and they need multivitamin supplements. So it's really important that your doctor is checking for that and is really methodically working through a system so that we don't miss any key pieces of the equation. Does that make sense, Sunny?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, now let's talk about fatty acids, because fatty acids is actually an essential nutrient. Fats that we eat could be from, animal fat, could be plant fats like avocados, could be fish fats like, salmon and sardines. Those are essential fats, meaning that our body doesn't make those types of oils. And if we don't consume them in our diet or take a supplement, we can't make them. And our bodies then become sick, especially the nervous system, the heart, the joint. Fatty acids affect the cell membrane around every cell. So if you have a cell membrane that doesn't have those essential lipids, it's going to be a very friable or breakable type of cell membrane. So there's more injury, toxicity, cancers, things like that show up. So fatty acids are very essential nutrients, not just for the brain, but for the whole body. Amino acids, there are some that are non-essential, and that means your body can sort of make them from breaking down protein in the body, and some that are essential. And if we're not consuming, let's say, tryptophan, which is one of the essential amino acids, and we're not consuming enough tryptophan, you can't build protein in your body. So that means you can't build the neurotransmitters in your brain. You can't build the cell membranes either. You can't build the connections that you need, the hormones that you need. All the messenger molecules are based on protein. Your immune system needs protein to make antibodies. So you can see how critical amino acids are to the life of the body and the cell. And so these are important nutrients that we often miss in conventional medicine because we're not focused on nutrition. But when we look at functional medicine approach, and especially this plus minus approach, it's one of the key foundational tests that we look at when we're looking for root causes of ADHD. Any questions so far, Sunny?
Not so far.
Not so far. We have hormones. So hormones are like vitamin D. there are other hormones, estrogen and testosterone. Hormones could be things like, I don't know, B12 or other type. Some, they're also vitamins, but they're also hormones. So some messenger molecules need to be added, especially if there's vitamin D deficiency, for example. That's a big one we look for specifically in children. We need to add that because vitamin D affects so many chemical reactions in the body, including generating sex hormones, but also it affects sleep. It affects serotonin production, and serotonin is our happy hormone. We think of it as our happy hormone. And although a lot of the serotonin is made in the gut, we still need to make some serotonin in the brain. And so having a balance of our hormones and the protein carriers for those hormones is an essential factor to look at in our testing. And then we look at probiotics and OPCs. And sorry, the slide is messed up, but those should be two separate ingredients. Probiotics are these live, healthy bacteria that we consume either by eating fermented foods or by taking supplements. And we're adding good bugs back to our gut because oftentimes if we were sick with strep or other viruses, it causes an imbalance in our microbiome in the gut. And we have to add good guys back after, especially if we use antibiotics, right? We want to add the good guys back. So having a diet rich in probiotics by eating regular fermented foods or having a supplement that you rely on is an important priority for children who have gut-brain issues like those kids with ADHD. And OPC stands for a very complicated long word. I'm not going to even try to say it, but these are special antioxidants that are generated from the dark pigmentation of fruits and vegetables and things like that. So think of like dark chocolate or even pine bark. Like some people harvest pine bark because it has OPCs in it and they put it in supplements as an antioxidant. Think of blueberries, red wine, raspberries, any fruit or vegetable that has a really strong pigment that has some OPCs, tomatoes, etc. So those OPCs are put in a supplement that Dr. Greenblatt created or put together through pure encapsulations. And those are very helpful supplements that I find kids with ADHD need because it helps them to focus and concentrate when they take those OPCs. So you can use it as a supplement, you can take it as your diet, but ultimately adding probiotics and OPCs as a supplement is always going to be a little bit more potent than just through the diet. Do you agree, Sunny?
Yeah. And I would piggyback off of that and just say that, when we talk about supplements, there's no diet that we could do right that would actually heal our body anymore, right? Because the food is just so different and manipulated now, and it doesn't have the nutrients in it. So pretty much all of us need some sort of any one of these, and that's why they kind of all fit together. Like you said, the fatty acids with the vitamins and minerals and the hormones, getting in the good quality fats and proteins.
Yeah, there's so many documentaries talking about the soil quality and how our earth crust has been depleted by over farming, since the 1970s. This is not something new, folks. This is something that's been happening to our planet for many, many decades now. And we're just reaping the rewards, unfortunately, right now in our next generation. So in a way, that's why we both encourage people to have their own home garden, plant their own herbs and vegetables if they can. In functional medicine, we're going to be big on supplements just because we understand how important they are for our healthy bodies and how difficult it would be to just consume all the nutrients in enough quantity to get the same dose as you would in a supplement. For example, to get 250 milligrams of vitamin C, you would have to eat 3 bushels of oranges or something crazy like that. So it's not practical, right? Like still eat your oranges, but not 3 bushels full. And we're just going to try to maybe aim for 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. But the rest we're going to supplement because we know we just can't eat enough of those foods and in enough quantities to really make that leap, right? In correcting an imbalance. And that's what we're trying to underscore here. Another thing that I think I like to talk about when we talk about what do we need to add Research has shown that exercise is so beneficial for children with ADHD, and there are certain forms of exercise that's more helpful than others. For example, martial arts and running have been shown to lead the pack when it comes to the type of exercise that helps children focus. So please don't punish your kids when they do something you don't like by restricting exercise. I would say take away their screen time or their toys, but don't take away exercise. Exercise is so essential for their brain to function right and to do better. Keep that as like an essential nutrient, if you will, for their body. Light, because we don't want kids isolating in their room playing video games all day long. We want them out in nature. So definitely have them spend time outside. Make sure they're not just staying up all night and sleeping all day and never having light on their eyeballs, because the pineal gland is sensing the light. And if they're constantly working in the dark, they're not regulating their circadian rhythm. And that's going to cause more disruption with their gut and their brain. And sleep disorders become an issue. So do gut disorders like major constipation. So it's important that we follow a circadian rhythm, up during the day at the same hour, back to bed at the same hour, and we eat at the same time, and just have these milestones throughout the day that help us remember, like, okay, this is time for whatever, and our body is in sync with that circadian rhythm. Other thing that Dr. Greenblatt really highlights is, showing your kids affection and giving positive reinforcement. So what does that mean? Notice their wins. Don't only focus on the things that they do wrong. They're going to do plenty wrong, but they don't mean to do wrong, right? Like, they really want to please, they really want to win, they really want to do well in school. They just can't do it. They have an impairment. It's a disorder. And so they need the parents and their teachers and grandparents to really believe in them, to really affirm them, to really love on them. And so you want to do those things on a conscientious basis. Don't let it be sort of an afterthought, but really notice when they're having winning moments, when they do things right, because that builds their self-esteem and that allows them to yearn for more winning moments, right? They're going to strive to do better. So this is a key important feature of what's to be added. What do you say, Sunny?
Yeah, I think too, like with going back to the affection part, I mean, it's very regulating for the nervous system, right? So we know that always plays a key too in all of it. It's just kind of, and with the running and the exercise that you were talking about, that's very regulating for their nervous system.
Yes, because we have two parts to our nervous system, if you think of it like sympathetic, parasympathetic. So we're trying to bring balance to those two sides, right? When we're running and exercising, that's more sympathetic. But when we're doing affection and quiet time and hugging and sleeping, those are more like the rest and digest. So that's the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system that kicks in. So yes, definitely. All right, so let's go into the next column, which is what needs to be avoided. And the first middle column says, toxins. So some could be element type toxins. Those are things most parents are familiar with, like lead, mercury, aluminum, etc. They could be biological toxins, so from plants and germs. They could be synthetic, and that's mostly petrochemical, and they could be in the pesticide category. Now, this is too broad of an area for me to dive in tonight, but I just wanted to highlight these as toxins that lurk all around us. We are probably bathing in a sea of toxins right now in the air, with over 85,000 types of chemicals that we're breathing every day because of the industrial arena around us. So, we can't escape it. And most neurotypical or normal people have enough liver capacity to detox. They may detox through their breath, through their sweat, through their urine, and their liver mostly does the heavy lifting, but also through bowel movements. But kids with ADHD and autism don't have a good detox mechanism. So these types of toxins tend to build up more in their bodies. And when we detect these burdens, we really have to support the liver and support all of the detox pathways, including urination, stooling, sweating, breathing. All of that has to be supported with supplements and with lifestyle and with diet to help put them back on the edge of, I can handle the toxin burden, right? in your experience, Sunny, with coaching, what have you seen in this arena? Like, what have you suggested or what have you noticed?
You mean as far as with the toxic elements?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it latches on to that cell membrane too, right? And a lot of like the synthetic chemicals and pesticides and stuff, it takes over the cell membrane, and then you're combating for that fatty acid, right? That good strong cell. And we all are latent, like you said, we're all latent with these chemicals. And a lot of times when, it's like a bucket and it just kind of keeps filling up. And so for some kids that have some sort of SNP or something, their bucket gets full very fast, like you said, because the liver doesn't work properly. But, we've got to try to empty that bucket.
Yes. And you're right about, I wasn't thinking of like the cell receptors are being filled by these toxins. And so it's blocking normal hormone signaling or neurotransmitter signaling or insulin signaling or estrogen signaling, right? So that's where the toxicity starts building. Is like the body's trying to do things, but these elements, these toxins are blocking the normal functioning of the cells and the organs. So that's very important. Do you have a favorite drink or solution or thing that you do to help detox? Like something that people can start doing tonight? I have one up my sleeve, but I just didn't know what you were.
I just feel like anytime anybody can add something to their water, like getting in more water is so essential. I feel like most people live in a dehydrated state.
Yeah.
So even getting in just extra water really helps. But even getting in those minerals, like putting a little bit of salt in it, in your water, like you're not going to taste the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Adding a little pinch of salt to their water.
Like Himalayan salt.
To get that mineral content.
Yeah. I use Himalayan salt. I also love lemon in my water.
Yeah.
And I find that the lemon helps to boost the gallbladder and the liver detox, especially if you drink it first thing in the morning. But I sip on it all day. It's just something I have. And that's something easy that kids will not necessarily refuse. I think we can have most kids sipping on lemon water.
Right.
So that's an easy tip. Another tip I like is Epsom salts because of the magnesium in Epsom salts. It really helps to compete with some of these elemental minerals like lead, mercury, and so on. So soaking in the tub in the evening, it helps you relax your muscles, it helps you get ready for bed. For our kids who have insomnia, this is a great trick, but it's also helping them detox. So those are some easy maneuvers parents can start doing right now just by listening to us talking about the philosophy of the plus-minus approach. The next column I wanted to address is autoimmune. And the reason I'm going to that one is because this one is often missed. It's often missed by conventional doctors. It's often missed by the patient. We say celiac disease, for example, is the great mimicker. It can present in so many ways that unless you're looking at the patient globally and really getting a detailed history of all of their symptoms, you're going to miss elements that are telling you, oh, this kid might have celiac. Oftentimes, we have to test to convince ourselves that, yes, it's really there. An easy way to tell might be to go on a gluten-free diet for 3 weeks and see what happens. But most people are not committed enough to do that exercise. So I say, yes, let's test and let's see, do you carry the genes? Are your enzymes topsy-turvy already from your bloodstream? Like, is it showing an upset or increase in your IgG and IgA? Because those enzymes in the blood work can also be an indicator. But I like to do both the enzyme panel and the HLA or the genetic panel. Because when I see that both are abnormal, that's a definite shoe-in for celiac. Like, I don't even send people to do endoscopy anymore, although that's the standard of care in Western medicine. I don't feel it's necessary if we have all the symptoms, all the clues on the blood test. Like, we really don't need that extra piece, but most GI doctors will insist on doing endoscopy and getting a biopsy. And then the final column is allergens. So we talked about gluten as being a problem food, but there could be other things besides food, or there could be other food ingredients that are problems, right? Like J.J. Virgin talks about the 7 foods that most people should avoid in the Western world because we've all grown up on these foods and they're all modified genetically and cause harm. And those 7 foods, if you're curious, are gluten, which is in grain, dairy or casein, eggs or egg white in particular, although some people do react to the egg yolk, corn, soy, peanuts, sugar, and artificial sweeteners. And then some people react to beef, and some people react to citrus, and some people react to seafood. So it's a really individualized thing. And that's why it's important to test to see which food sensitivity is affecting at all, if that's possible, if that's one of the triggers. We need to find out exactly which foods your child is reacting to. I've had so many kids, not necessarily with ADHD, but with eczema, that we've done food sensitivities on. And once we took those foods out of their diet, their skin cleared up within a month. So they don't need all the expensive creams and the steroids and a trip to the dermatologist every 6 months. So we really help them narrow down their issues by transforming their diet and lifestyle. Some of the other allergens could be out in the air, like pollen from trees or grass or ragweed. Could be in the house, like dust or animal dander. Could be chemicals from cleaning solutions that you use. That's why we recommend using more organic type solutions, vinegar and essential oils and lemon and what's the other one? Baking soda. Like things like that are natural and our body doesn't react to it. They still do the good cleaning job. And, they don't leave a trail of chemicals behind them. So those are easy ways to clean your home. Mold, with us living in a humid climate in Georgia and in Florida, and even people in Oregon, I would say we have a lot of rain. And when leaves fall off the tree, that's when we see the most mold out in nature. But if we have a leak in our house and it's hidden, it could be growing behind your wall and you don't know it, but the spores are penetrating into your room and you're breathing that and suffering from the consequences of mold toxicity. And it's not everybody's going to suffer the same. Not everybody's going to be as sensitive to mold, but there's always one or two people in a family that are more sensitive to others. And usually those are the kiddos that are like the canary in the coal mine. They're the ones that start showing the most symptom, mood disruption, fevers, all kinds of symptoms really can show up, headaches, cough, asthma. I mean, you name it, you got it. And oftentimes, again, it's bewildering to the physician unless the physician's asking the question, do you see mold? Do you smell a musty smell in the house? Have you had a leak around windows or doors or basements or bathrooms or kitchens or all these things, right? And Sunny, you're more of an expert in this than I am. So if you want to add something to what I said, please.
You don't even know it. Sometimes, like you said, I mean, a leaky window, I mean, maybe they moved into the house after somebody did some renovations and it's super hidden because, they bought this house and it was behind the wall and nobody ever fixed it the right way. And like you said, I mean, yeah, Georgia, Florida, all those moist areas, but I've seen lots of clients in Colorado and they're like, there's no way. It's so dry here. There's no way. And it's like, yeah, but you forget that snow melts. And if there's something in the roof or a pipe broke and you didn't know about it, I mean, it's really everywhere. And you're right. It causes a whole gamut of symptoms along with everything else, like all the allergies, stuff like that. But, it can be fixed. And that's the good part about being with you as their practitioner is that you can heal them from it. And then a lot of these other allergens go away if you're healing. Like it's not forever. Like a lot of these allergies can go away if heal the diet, you take the supplements and you do everything that you want them to do.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be forever.
Yeah, there's such a correlation between like gut health and all the allergens that we're seeing and all the skin disorders that we're seeing, even acne, I would say, very much connected to what's going on in the gut, what's going on in the whole body, how's the immune system engaging the disruptions in the body, because it can express in many, many different ways. I remember a case where a kiddo was complaining of eye pain. This is another doctor that told me the story. This kiddo was complaining of eye pain. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. They took her to the eye doctor. They kept going to the doctor, the pediatrician. And finally, her doc figured out, like, let's run some tests. Let's see if this could be some kind of an allergy because we can't find any disease in the eye. And she had gluten sensitivity. And once they took her off gluten, the eye pain went away. Like, no correlation to the gut, right? But it's just, you can find all kinds of weird stories like that.
Anxiety is a huge one, right? Like
Great.
people, their anxiety goes away whenever gluten is removed. I know that that's a really big one, especially for, any sort of like anxious child or something like that. It may be worth looking into.
A huge tip. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then germs is the last item, like bacteria, parasites, viruses can trigger some form of allergenic reaction, but that's more rare, I would say. Although in parasites, you definitely see a lot of histamine released with parasites. So that the parasites are a big one. And, that's really it. It seems like there should be more, but I think if we address all those issues and look for them, in a child with ADHD, we've done more than 90% of digging. Like we've really done a lot of research on that child to figure out where the imbalances are and how to help them regain their balance, restore their health, eliminate the symptoms they were experiencing. We don't want to promise cure for anyone because everybody's individual, but I've seen so many kids that no longer needed medicine when we did this plus minus approach. So are they cured? Can't say, but they're better. That's what we can all say. The parents are raving about it and they're so happy. And as long as the families maintain some sort of supplement regime, diet regime, exercise, lifestyle regime, and we don't fall back to the old ways, we're going to be able to maintain a pretty good balance. I mean, when you get sick, things are disrupted again. We have to rebalance and add more probiotics and, figure out what else is off. But for the most part, these kids are doing great, and your kids can do great as well, just by following this plus minus approach. Again, you can find all this detailed in Dr. James Greenblatt's book, Finally Focused, and you can ask me questions in the chat below. I haven't seen anything come in, but to be honest, I wasn't looking because I was talking. But if you have more to share with me, yeah, I don't see anybody chiming in. There's people watching, but nobody's talking. That's okay. Please feel free to ask questions after the end of this. I'll check back in the group and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Sunny is also available to answer questions as a health coach. So she sees things from a slightly different perspective than I do. And really, we complement each other very well. Wouldn't you say so, Sunny?
I agree. I like that.
Yes, she brings her wisdom and expertise and her coaching avenues. And, sometimes you need someone to look at the practical aspect of how do I do a gluten-free diet? Like, what do I have to do? Where do I start? Like, what do I look for? What is a gluten? I've been asked all those questions.
Yeah.
I laugh, but not maliciously. I just laugh because it's entertaining to me. It's cute. It's endearing. I want to help. I want to explain, but I don't know what else to explain unless you folks ask me. So please ask your questions. No question is too silly or too ignorant or too stupid or any of those words. Like, we really welcome your questions. We don't know what's on your heart and mind until you ask them. And we're here to serve. We're here to make a difference. That's why we show up every week. That's why we do the work that we do. That's why we've been in this arena for years and decades right now. So please use us. This is a free group. We want to help. So that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Nahas.
Thank you.